Good morning, folks. I'm Joe Wesley, and
Good morning, Lizzy. Gabor here. Good morning, folks.
thank you for joining us. We sign on, this is an 8 o'clock start, but we tend to sign on 1 or 2 minutes early just to give you some background information because we are actually so packed with my confusion that we need all the extra time we can to take advantage of this. Some reminders if you're looking at us live, thank you very much. Live is 8 o'clock Eastern Time, daylight or savings, it doesn't matter. That you can view us through Facebook, through LinkedIn, and through YouTube. We do ask that you leave comments. If you do it through YouTube, you have to be signed in either through your Google account or your YouTube account. For those of you who are more leisurely about looking at us, not at the moment of live performance, but I'll say the afterglow of sorts, that you can still view us. We do audit your comments either on the live or I'll say the repeat version of it. Very much, we both ask that you share your comments, your confusions, your questions, your help, not only with us, but also with the people you know, so we can provide value better to you and the ones we're trying to reach out to. And the theme of this is I'm a left brain kind of guy, and I am gosh darn proud about that. And whereas Lizzy is more the right brain fuzzy stuff, I call it. And she talks about wellness. She talks about mindfulness. And the people I know around her respect her a lot on that basis. And I'm sure there's more yet I've yet to figure out, aside from being a certified yoga instructor, that she has a lot to bring to the table, none of which makes any sense to me. So I'm trying to figure this stuff out, and I'm asking her, actually, I'm trying to pin her down, and she's trying to duck me in the corner to pound me with stuff. So the theme for today that I throw at, we don't rehearse this, by the way, but the theme for today is, and I'm flashing the quote on the bottom because I don't, too many words for me to remember, and it goes, if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them, by Jim Quick. Yes, am I reading that correctly?
Absolutely, yes, Jim Quick.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough. Now, before she starts talking to me, because I've been rambling now for at least 2 minutes here, it comes to mind when I was in high school, and I was not that tall for, say, potential basketball player. I was thinking I was a 5'9" kind of guy. But even because I was a late kind of grower, I'm only 2 inches more than that since then. But I could stuff a T-shirt. I had legs that were like beyond belief muscles. I always rode my bicycle. I had somebody on my bike half the time. I always walked. I had leg muscles. I could stuff a T-shirt. Now, 3 inches taller, no matter how much I jump, even a springboard, I can't even touch the rim of that basketball hoop. So that is one limitation. In my mind, is still trying to keep up to or catch up to that. So I'm not clear what she's trying to say on this.
Well, I have a question for you, Joe. How have you been riding your bike like you did as a kid, and have you been practicing that stuff in that shirt on a daily basis like you did back then?
See, this is what happens to me all the time. Somehow I'm supposed to be responsible for my actions and my behavior and the outcome. So I,
Yeah.
I have to admit to that. No, but what's that got to do with that? I just thought it was mind over matter, and you're good to
Yeah.
go.
No. You need to actually do the actions that are going to actually, produce the result. That's where you're taking responsibility for your results, right? And so, if you want it, I firmly believe if you wanted to get that skill back, and you did what was necessary in order to get your leg muscles back in that shape,
Mm-hmm.
and you believed that you were capable of getting back in that shape, and seeing it in your mind's eye, you dunking that and seeing that shot, you would absolutely, in my opinion, but it would have to be your belief. You would have to believe it's possible in order for it
Well,
to come into,
okay.
you'd have to see it to believe it,
Okay, I
you
hear
know.
where you're going. I hear where you're going with this, folks. This is always this back and forth. So I have another one for you that might make more sense. When I
Bring it.
was in college still, I was looking in the mirror doing my hygiene, and I noticed this white fleck on my head. And I went to brush it off, and it didn't go away. So I took a closer look at it, and I says, geez, that's a white hair. Didn't be long. And without hesitation, an anomaly, without hesitation, I found the tweezers, grabbed it, yanked it out, gone. because that wasn't my world. Well, maybe 3 weeks later, I saw another white hair, different location, a little bit more reflective at this point. Still grabbed the tweezers, yanked it out. Well, another 2 weeks after that, I saw a third white hair. Now I gave it deliberate consideration because I said if I keep pulling out these white hairs, I'll get to this eventually. And my mindset is not in that direction. So come on, it's got to be some limitation to that program, yes?
You know, I mean,
I got her. I got her.
that's
I got her.
that's just I mean, it's a reality of being on the, what's the alternative? Would you rather not be here, right? um, or have that? And so I guess you had to accept that, or you could have dyed your hair. There's options that you could have had if you wanted to change that result. But what Jim was talking about, and what I really try to help clients with, and I did with myself,
Mm-hmm.
is, it's the what we say to ourselves, like that negative self-talk, like, I'm too old to do this, I'm too old
Mm.
to dunk a shot, I'm a procrastinator, I'm
Mm-hmm.
a uh I don't remember names, I'm forgetful, I can't do blank. That's becomes our reality, because our self-talk is how we program our body and our mind. So we're programming ourselves to have these limits. And so what I say to people is, how about programming, yourself to believe that you can do whatever it is, that you can remember names, and you're basically programming your mind, which will at some point become what your body does, because your body follows what you're programming. And so you got to put it in your head, then you got to bring it to your heart, and then it becomes in your hands. It's like a process, and you have to assume the emotion that how are you going to feel once you are able to do these things. And it's a process. I mean, you say it might be woo woo, but it's actually, it's backed by science, my friend.
Okay,
It's
she's loading up on me. I get that. So here's my counter question to you. I didn't
okay.
start out saying I'm going to become forgetful by the time I'm 35. I didn't start out saying that I mean, so it doesn't require physical effort. It's that's just mindfulness stuff. She likes to use that word. That it never occurred to me that I'm going to be forgetful. When I was in training, I could do multiple things in one breath. I was a medical student or a doctor at one point in training. I admitted somebody in the emergency room, and I hung their blood, and I took a history, and I wrote orders, and I did the examination all in one breath. I mean, from head to toe and circle around us like a samurai warrior in full performance mode. Now, if I yawn too long, I forget why my mouth is open. I didn't plan that.
Right. So now it's more important for you to get yourself into the state, which is, which is priming. It's like you're priming yourself. So if you were again, like we've talked about it, you were in flow in those moments when you were doing those
Oh,
things in the
I
car.
say
You
I
were in the
was good.
in the
Yeah.
zone. You were in the zone. And so, now sometimes as we grow older, we have to actually, create that zone. We have to get ourselves into that state of, creativity, and set ourselves up for success. So, so when we're rushing around and trying to, I know when I'm rushing around, I'm knocking things over. I'm, not at all having the path of least resistance to get
Hmm.
to the point where I want to get to. But if I set myself up, say, to make a good meal, and I place everything out, and I, sharpen the saw, they say, I think it's one of those in the seven, whatever, habits of effective, for 7 habits of success. I forget what the book is, but,
Hmm.
one of them is you got to, you have to sharpen the saw, so if you have to going out to cut down a lot of trees or whatever, and you go out there with a dull saw, what's going to happen? It's going to take you twice as long. You're going to be twice as tired. You're not, it's going to be much more effort. But if you actually sharpen the saw before you begin, it's going to be much easier for you to get through cutting that wood. So, we need to do that for ourselves. We need to get ourselves primed. We need to get ourselves ready. We need to get ourselves in the shape that we need to be in if we want to dunk that ball or however you called it, So it's about being intentional with what we do in order to get the results that we want.
I hear that. Now, folks, then you said something that really gave me an anchor to flow with this. I understand technically, assuming I agree with you, which I haven't yet, that what one quote needs to do. But again, see, rephrase that for the audience who's new to us. The core difference between myself and Lizzy, when she makes a statement, well, what you need to do is this, it's like, to me, it's like turning on a light switch. I'm just not that intuitive with it. So you said, for example, that you need to sharpen your saw to do a better cut of that tree. I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. You find yourself knocking things over inadvertently because you're focused in another direction. At that moment, once you have that realization that you're knocking things over, do you take steps? Because you're preoccupied, maybe a higher priority of the moment. Maybe you just first got up and all the cobwebs aren't out of the head yet. I always ask, are there little baby steps or micro steps one can take? Well, hey, load me up with that stuff.
Yeah, I think, yes. Again, for me, it starts with thinking about first of all, how do I want to feel for the day? And I might wake up feeling.
Sometimes I feel like I want to go back to bed.
Yeah, and that might be the case, but if that's not an option.
Oh, geez, here we go again.
Thinking about what state do I want to be in today? Do I want to feel grounded and really try, doing things, whatever it is. Like I have this morning routine to get myself grounded in what I want to achieve that day, grounded in how I want to feel, and we are in control. I mean, yes, we are affected by things. We're affected by the weather. We're affected by what's going on in the world.
Mm-hmm.
However, we really get to choose, how we want to feel and how we feel. We get to. It's not a light switch, but it's an intentional choice. It's like I love this metaphor. Are we like the thermostat or the thermometer, in any situation, and a lot of us are the thermometer. So we go into a situation and whatever is going on around us sets how we are going to feel. Mm-hmm. But what I recommend is to be more like the thermostat. We go in, we get to set the how the environment is reacting, how we're reacting to the environment, and we could stay again in that eye of the hurricane with things maybe going around. Maybe we're in a rainstorm, maybe we're in traffic, but we can choose how we're going to respond to that, and we can stay in a beautiful state, or we can be the thermometer and just go down real quickly. And it's a practice. Like you said, it's not a light switch, but it's a practice, and it becomes easier the more that you practice it.
I see. Well, I find I'm not yet agreeing with anything she has to say, but I can think of an example that perhaps might apply to me. I find when I'm working on a project, and it's maybe 40 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever it may be, that's almost irrelevant. If I find myself trying to push through that project of the moment just to get it done, I realize I'm not giving the project a fair shot. I'm not giving myself a fair shot. So I have to physically get up and walk away and distract myself or release myself from the urgency, the need of that project demand, I guess, perhaps, and become relaxed enough I can come back to it again and give it the justified attention that it deserves, as opposed to let me just finish this, and because then I'm at risk for taking shortcuts and pushing things underneath the rug, perhaps. Is that the stuff you're talking about here?
And knocking things over, like I was talking about. Yeah, because I mean, I think our creativity is limitless if we know how to get into that state again. It's like in that theta state, they call it, in your brain. It's like that creativity, that place of creativity where, again, things can flow, and the ideas come out of you. Like when you're in the shower, sometimes you have these great ideas. You're in that theta state. You're not. And we need to learn how to get into that state. And so when you find yourself going out of it, like you're saying, in that rush, it's really, really smart to step away, to recalibrate, to release, go for a walk, which is great for learning and for like trying to like tap into that creative state, you know, because your best ideas, your best work is not going to come in that when you're stressed and when you're, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because your brain it's not, those connections are not, you know, in the best state. They're all disconnected. And so we want to increase those connections. And there's ways to do that. Like,
Well, you see, I hear that what you're saying, and but you just introduced another topic, folks, that I'm hopefully Lizzy will agree to. I've heard people say, certainly somewhat off subject maybe of the moment, but they say I perform best when I'm under stress, and we won't necessarily talk about that now because it's geez, we've got maybe a minute left of dialogue, but part of what I enjoy about this encounter engagement with Lizzy. Actually, same thing. Encounter and engagement. Is that the same thing? Maybe another question we could talk about. That I'm always at least hearing things I haven't heard before. I'm thinking about things I hadn't thought before about. So before I start rambling, would you like to close us out for the last 30 seconds of this dialogue?
I love that. I mean, that's the whole idea because, you know, it's all of these things that I share are not new concepts. They've been around forever. It's just that we're not taught them in school. In
Mm-hmm.
school, we're taught do as you told, do as you're told. We're taught to what our limitations are, what our weaknesses are, and then as a child, especially, you know, we what's said to us externally becomes our internal belief. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, I would say, you know, who do you want to identify as, you know, and assume that identity of the person of that you want to be, and you know, and beautiful things can happen. I've seen it many times. I've seen it for myself, letting go of negative beliefs about myself,
Mm-hmm.
and they just don't. I just don't live in that space anymore, and that's what I want for people, you know, to just um, be their best version of themselves and keep challenging themselves. And that's, you know, that's what you're saying that stress is, because I believe that once you can do something that's hard and you survive, you know, that creates you get stronger. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
see that you're able to do something that, you know, you maybe thought you couldn't, you know. um
I'm going to interrupt. I need stress for success. Is that a criteria? So again, just different topics. What I really like about these talks, she stimulates my brain and she's confusing it. Maybe that's the stress factor. We are past our curfew. Thank you very much, folks. Thank you, Lizzy, for being a part of this again. And we look forward to seeing you guys and ladies tomorrow at, not tomorrow, next Thursday
yes,
at 8 a.m. 15-minute dialogue, excluding
happy
holidays and things.
Thursday. And if anyone's celebrating Yom
Yes.
Kippur, have a good holiday, and
Thank you.
we'll
Thank
see
you
you
very
next
much.
time.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.